Hey everyone, it's Allie and welcome to my channel and welcome to another fireside chat. I really like this idea of just kind of talking to you guys more casually, talking a little bit more about different topics, including mental health, and doing my best to kind of tie that into reselling and thrifting and just like that whole vibe of my channel. But I really want my page, my YouTube page, to be kind of like a positive community, a place where hopefully you can come and maybe walk away feeling a little bit better about yourself and about life and the world and everything. So because my background is in counseling, I would like to kind of incorporate more of these chats, which may or may not be mental health related. Anyway, today's is not really at all, it's just a Q&A. I figured since I just hit 1,000 subscribers last week, and I'm already nearing almost 1,050, which is crazy. I remember at the beginning when I would be lucky to get like 1 subscriber a week and then somebody usually unsubscribed. It's just so crazy for me to finally see some growth after almost 2 years making YouTube videos, but I will talk more about that, I think, as I go through the Q&A. So I asked you guys to ask me questions on my Instagram. That's where most of these questions came from. So make sure you follow me at Allison Grosick if you are not already, because that's just a really great way for me to kind of communicate with you, show you some more behind the scenes of my life, things like that. But I also was able to post on the community tab finally, and I asked you guys to ask me questions over there as well. So I think a few people did, so I will look at both. Okay, so this is a good one to start because this will give you good background if you are new to my channel. Kate asked, how did you get into reselling? What's your full-time job? Love your videos, girl. Thanks so much, Kate. She is great and she comments on a lot of videos, so thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. So how did I get into reselling? This is kind of interesting because although I would not call my channel a reselling channel, I really don't want to be like put into that box. I really like making a variety of content. It's all pretty much thrift based, but I don't want my channel to only be about reselling. I hope you guys are okay with that. So where I'm going with this is I feel like a lot of people that are reselling YouTubers, they got into YouTube after reselling. So they kind of had already been doing that as their side hustle or full-time job or whatever. And they figured, okay, I can share my knowledge with other people on YouTube. And that's fantastic. I watch so many people that have been doing reselling for like 5+ years. I love Jack and Ryan. I love Mackenzie from McThriftzies. I can never say her channel name right. But those 2 channels are 2 that I really like to watch. There's also a bunch of other people, Amanda Pruitt, she's one of my favorites, Soul Inspired Seller. There's a lot of people that reselling really is like the absolute core of their channel, and they're so knowledgeable. They're so wonderful. Myself, on the other hand, I was not even thinking about reselling when I started my YouTube channel in January of 2020. I always knew that thrifting would be a big part of it. Back in that first year, I was a little bit more all over the place. I was doing a lot of different kind of like lifestyle content, but really to be successful on YouTube, you have to kind of have your niche come down a little bit more, like have a more focused idea for your channel. And so thrifting really became that, which is great because I've always loved being thrifty, whether that's with home decor or clothes or whatever. And then as I started making more of that content, people that are resellers started showing up in my feed. I started watching more of them, and I thought this could be a great way for me, one, to make content and also to make some side money. So I would not say that I even got into reselling until, like beginning of this year, and I didn't even start taking it seriously until like May, June of this year. So I'm 100% still learning a ton. There are things that I did at the beginning that I absolutely would not do now. And I'll probably make a video during Christmas time about like ways that I will not source anymore, ways that I will, things like that. Kind of just like the things that I've learned in this first year-ish of reselling. And to answer the second part of her question, what's your full-time job? So a little bit more backstory on me. I have a degree in psychology, an undergraduate degree in psychology, and I do have a master's in counseling, which is why I said I'd love to incorporate more mental health talk on my channel. So I worked in ministry for a while after I graduated, and then I worked in career counseling at a local university. I really love that job. I was very fortunate to be able to do that part-time for 20 hours a week while building up my YouTube, writing, doing other things. Unfortunately, with COVID, I did end up getting laid off from my job at the end of last year. And I was pretty disappointed because I liked the job a lot and it was, you know, stable income that my husband and I could use to pay off our debt, just pay the bills in general, and for other things. When I did get laid off, my husband and I had kind of like a long chat about what we needed to do, and he is so supportive of me having a creative career. And he basically said, you know what, I can pay for the bills. We are very blessed that he makes a very solid income. All that I make from reselling right now goes towards paying off debt, goes towards presents, things like that. So that is really the main way that I make money right now, is by part-time reselling. However, I will have 4 YouTube channels by the beginning of next year, which I'll talk more about in a future video as I get closer to launching them. I also do write. I have 1 book published and I'm working on a couple others. And I do take YouTube seriously, as I said, and it does take quite a bit of time to do editing, not necessarily on these types of videos, but other videos, it does take more time than just kind of doing it and then uploading. So kind of all of that stuff together really fills up my week. I also do some volunteer work as well. So I am super, super fortunate to be able to have a creative career, which doesn't pay very much right now, but hopefully in the next few years, I will be able to make a little bit more money. And I have so many ideas for this channel. I do plan on launching a Patreon once I get a little bit bigger of a following, as well as creating some merch and things like that. So I'm really excited for the future of this channel. Kate also asked, how did you and Ryan meet? So not too exciting of a story. I mean, I think it's exciting, but we met in college and it was kind of like fate, as you might say, or I would say like a God moment for sure. So I'm actually 2 years older than Ryan. You guys might not know that. The people who have been around for a while, they definitely know, but I am 2 years older than Ryan, and we started dating about a month before I graduated college. So it really was like a very small time frame. And it is kind of funny because just a few weeks before we really became friends, I was talking to this other guy and I was like totally sure that we were gonna date. And then all of a sudden, I literally had like a God moment, and it was just like, no, like you're not gonna date this guy. And I didn't even really know why at the time, because I totally thought I was gonna date him. I had nothing against him. And Ryan was in a relationship with a girl who then cheated on him. So it's just kind of funny that those two things happened when they did, because if I would have started dating that guy, even if we only would have dated for a month, I would have missed Ryan. And if Ryan's ex-girlfriend hadn't cheated on him and they wouldn't have broken up, he would have still been in that relationship. So it really worked out perfectly. I'm so grateful for our relationship, our marriage. I am so happy. He truly is my other half. I know that's lame to say, but I do think we complement each other very well, and you guys might see that by watching videos that he's in. So yeah, it's kind of basic in the sense that we just met in college, but I do think there's like a little bit deeper meaning there. Okay, I was also asked, what are your favorite brands to wear and favorite part of reselling? Favorite brands to wear, I'm really not picky. Like, isn't this hilarious that I did my makeup, I curled my hair to film this video, and I am still wearing a sweatshirt. That's kind of the bad thing about me working from home all the time now. I don't often get dressed up. I do like to get dressed up. Like, I like to try to look cute and stuff. I like to wear dresses and cozy sweaters and things like that. I don't necessarily have a lot of brands that I'm like, oh my gosh, I love them. I do like Madewell jeans. I think they're great. I'm sure I'd like some good American jeans if I can get my hands on them. I also really like Ruly sweaters. If you guys watch my fall haul, which was all stuff that I got for myself, you know that I like Ruly sweaters. They're super cozy, kind of like anthro vibes. And of course, I love Anthropologie. So I'd say those are probably like my top 3 brands right now: Anthro, Ruly, and Madewell. And then my favorite part of reselling, I mean, I love sourcing, of course. Everyone loves to go to the thrift store. I'd hope so, if you like to resell. But I also just really love packaging up items. I take that seriously. I try to make it very cute. I like to write messages. I like to see where people are from, things like that. So I just love that moment of like getting everything together. And then it's like sending your baby out the door, especially if it's an item that I've had for a while. I'm like, Goodbye, it's time to go away, time to go to college, whatever. My cousin Em asked, what's your favorite thing about living in Columbus? So I do live in Columbus, Ohio. I do really like living here. The only thing I don't like about Columbus is the fact that there's snow in winter. It gets very cold. I am actually originally from Pennsylvania, and I will say about Columbus that the weather is slightly better here. We don't get quite as bad winters, but still I would love to go south eventually. But I really love Columbus because we have pretty much everything. Like there's a lot of water, a lot of people have boats out here. I'd like to get a kayak next summer. I think that'd be really fun. It's also very flat, which some people don't like. Some people love having the mountains. I don't really care. Mountains are pretty, but I'm like, you get over it, whatever. I'd rather be flat and be able to go on nice long walks, go on bike rides, things like that. I'm also super fortunate because I live in an area where I feel like I get a nice like city and suburb balance. So I live about 20 minutes outside of like downtown Columbus, which I personally wouldn't want to live in the city. I live much more in the suburbs, but I'm like 2 minutes from a Target and a Crumble cookie and like any kind of chain you can think of we have here. We just have pretty much everything. We have a really nice zoo, things like that. Anything that I want to do, I can basically do here. What's my favorite part of the day? I think the morning. I am super grateful because I would say I like am a morning person, but I always hated when I worked like standard jobs having to like get up and rush around, get out the door, especially when I worked at a high school and I was like literally out the door at 6 a.m. I like having kind of a slower morning, chilling out, sharing my Poshmark closet, drinking my coffee. I really love that a lot, so I would probably say the morning. A lot of times I end up working like until I go to bed, which is not great, but I kind of look at it like I have my like evening downtime in the morning. What is something you picked up to sell and regret? Ooh, that's good. I can't think of anything like specific, honestly, but there are just like a lot of things that I picked up at the beginning that I would not pick up now, whether that was because the cost of goods was too high or it just was kind of like a lower tier brand that I wasn't able to resell for very much. Now I am gonna do a whole video, a whole nother fireside chat video about ways that I am gonna source and ways that I'm not gonna source. So I'll talk more about that then. But for me, it's not necessarily like, oh, I really hate certain things that I picked up, but it's more like, I'm not gonna source in that way again, if that makes sense. Like I do regret getting certain ThredUp boxes. I do regret certain Goodwill hauls a little bit, but overall, you know, you live and you learn, right? My good buddy Carrie asked, what is your mantra or quote you like to use in life? I think for me, the biggest thing that kind of wraps up a lot of issues that I have in my own head is focus on what you can control. I am someone that struggles with anxiety quite a bit, just kind of generalized anxiety, and I can say that because I got a master's in counseling. I can diagnose myself. There's a lot of things in my day-to-day life that really stress me out, and it's super annoying. I don't want to be stressed out about it. But over time, through my faith, through my relationship with God, and just kind of repeating that over and over in my head, focus on what you can control, focus on what you can control. I've become a lot more calm. I have become a lot less of a perfectionist. I was a massive perfectionist my whole life growing up, which just really weighs on you. And now it's more for me that I want to have growth. Especially in something like reselling, it can be really easy to compare yourself to people that are selling a certain amount, picking up certain things. You can be like, man, I really suck at this or whatever. They're just like so much better than me. But for me, I try to compare myself to myself, and I would really encourage you guys to do the same thing, whether you are a reseller or not. Just focus on what you can control. Work on being better, work on being a kinder person every day, ask for forgiveness if you do wrong, and just try to, as I would say, let go and let God, but if you're not a religious person, just let go and like let the universe take it over. There are so many things that we worry about that just don't matter at all. And me, I kind of had like this internal crisis last year, right when I lost my job at the university, and I decided to kind of pursue this whole creative field full time, which a lot of people would look at me, and I'm sure have looked at me in my life and are like, oh my gosh, is she having a quarter life crisis? What's going on? I was a good student, I have 2 degrees, and people will probably say I'm wasting it. But how I look at it is I can't change anything about the past. As I'm paying my student loans off, do I very much wish that I would not have gone to grad school? Yes, but it also has helped make me who I am today. And all I can do from this point on is worry about now and the future a little bit, set myself up for a good future. So that's why I am kind of pouring all into this. I'm not too worried about my past anymore. And that's a great feeling because I really was like stressed about what people thought about me for way too long. Okay, that's everything from Instagram. Let's go on over to the community tab. I hope you guys like this, and if you do like these kind of Q&A chit chat format videos, just let me know, I can do them more often. Okay, another question about my favorite brands to wear. So I already answered that one, but my favorite brands to source and sell, that is a good question. So I am definitely someone that likes kind of like that mid-tier range. I haven't had a lot of luck with selling a lot of high-end things, and it kind of makes me nervous in a lot of ways to sell things that are really expensive because I'm just always nervous that someone will have a hissy fit and say it's not what it was or whatever. So I really like selling things in that like $35 to $70 range. That doesn't mean that's the majority of things that I sell, but I really like to pick up cool vintage. I know that's not like a brand, but if I can find a cool vintage piece, I like to pick that up. And a lot of that for me is just like, I can't let this go into the landfill. Someone please love it as much as I do. But just kind of bread and butter brands I think are great to sell. I really like selling American Eagle jeans. They tend to move pretty well for me and just like a pretty solid standard profit. Also Aerie along with that, Aerie leggings specifically. I do like selling Madewell and Free People as well. People don't necessarily like to buy it from me, but I do like to try to sell those pieces, and they usually do end up moving. Not for as much as I want, but you know, they do end up selling. And kind of going along with like the vintage stuff as well, I like just finding good sweaters that are like good materials, things like that. And that's why going to Goodwill and the bins is a lot of fun for me, and it's why I'll never just do online sourcing, because it's so fun to just like find those gems hidden in there. And I would say like overall I have a very like bohemian feminine style myself, despite wearing a crew neck right now, but I am drawn to those kind of pieces in general. Okay, I'll just do a couple more. I was asked by Laura, do you want to have kids? I do very much want to have kids, and I would appreciate your prayers for me and Ryan with this. We've been trying for a little bit and haven't been successful yet, but you know, we'll see what happens. We definitely are open to adoption if I don't get pregnant in the next few years. I just turned 29 last week, so I definitely still have time. And I think our timeline for adopting potentially is more like once we pay off our debt, which we'll hopefully do in the next 2 or 3 years, depending on how everything goes with my channel and reselling and all of that. But we do very much want to have kids. And then last questions from Jess. How many hours do you work for your reselling business? Do you pay yourself out or save to reinvest? So this definitely depends, and I will be honest with you guys, like the last 5 days, I've done basically nothing for my reselling business. I kind of put a cryptic message out, and I do apologize for that. I'm still kind of struggling because I'm a very open person for the most part, I'd say, with like boundaries on YouTube. So I don't want to say like too much about a situation, but we did have a death in our family that was very unexpected. Someone that is actually a friend of the family, but who I would very much consider like an uncle. So that was very hard for me to deal with that, honestly. I am a very emotional person. I'm an INFJ, I'm an empath, I'm a highly sensitive person. I'm all of that. So death is very hard for me when it is someone that I very much care about. And also just there's been some other things, some health issues with people in my family, some struggles with work things with people in my family. So it's been kind of a difficult couple weeks, I would say, in general. And for me, when I kind of get to that tipping point, I go a bit numb and I don't want to do anything and I don't want to talk to anybody. And I kind of was there the last few days, unfortunately. And for me, that meant I didn't really give a crap about my reselling business for the last few days. And I'm seeing that now because I'm not getting a lot of likes and things like that. So that really was a roundabout way to start off the answer to this question. But normally I work, I would say, between 2 and 3 hours a day on average. If I'm going sourcing, which I try to do that about once a week, I usually spend about 2 hours at Goodwill sourcing. But all in all, I list about 10 things a day. That's kind of my goal. Saturday and Sunday, I usually list a little bit less, maybe like even 2 to 5. I do my best to list something every day. But as I said, you know, things come up and reselling is not my life. as I said before, there are a lot of other things I'm working on, so it's not my main thing by any means, but I would say, put about 2 to 3 hours in. And then do you pay yourself out or save to reinvest? So I do put most of the money towards debt, but I have been kind of slowly getting things that will make my business better. And I'm actually gonna have a whole nother inventory storage tour. I just did one a few weeks ago, how I store my inventory, but we decided to kind of redo one of our guest rooms. We're very lucky to have 2 guest rooms, so we're kind of making one my reselling and office area. So that will be coming out in the next few weeks, hopefully, as I finish that up. But I have recently invested in like a label maker, some storage things for my clothes, and of course I take some of that money and go out and source. All right, I think that was a pretty good amount of questions to answer. I hope you guys learned something about me. I hope maybe something stuck out to you or will help you in some way. And if you do have any other questions for me, feel free to leave them down below and I can always do a part 2. But thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I really, really appreciate you. And so many of you did leave me very kind messages saying that you have been thinking about me these past few days. So I really do appreciate that. And I'm just so grateful for our community. Thanks again, and I will see you next time. Bye.